Hi, welcome back. Well, we completed the shoot. The storm that was forecast did come in, and it was extremely bad. But luckily, quite a few of the leaves stayed on the trees. But I got my shot, so I wasn't overly worried. I eventually went out overall. I managed to get out to three locations in the end, and I'm going to show you one of the shots that that was the final image we went with in the tutorial. I'm just going to go over the camera setup. Okay, the lens was 70 to 200 mm, and the shot, as I said, we're going to go with. I shot at 78 mm, and as I mentioned before, it mainly to do with I wanted to compress the perspective a little bit, and I'm going to show you a little bit more detail about that in a second. Exposure of a quarter of a second at f16, shot camera raw, 100 ISO. I'm manually focused. Again, the autofocus is very good, but on landscapes and stuff like that, there's no real reason to use the autofocus. I'll be more worried about switching the autofocus on and it moving in between shots and me having a shot focus of in a place I don't want it to. So by focusing manually, you can set it up where you want it to and then just leave it. So that's the reason for that. Tripod, yeah, quite important. I mean, there's no way I could handheld at a quarter of a second sharply, so definitely need a tripod and get it tightened up nice and secure. And I also the other thing I did on this shot was I used a self timer on 2 second delay, or you could use a cable release. I have got a cable release, but I'm a bit lazy. Sometimes you just put a timer on, and that helps give the camera a chance to settle down after you press the shutter button. It just allows the camera to settle down a bit. Otherwise, it's still wobbling slightly. And again, on a quarter of a second, you're going to get a bit of camera shake on there, and you don't want that. So that's that. Lens choices. Okay, I'm going to go a little bit more into lens choices for you and have a chat. Okay, so we're just going to try something new. I've got a little bit of a kind of a highlighting bit of software so that I can help pass draw on screen, just help describe what's going on. This was shot with the same lens, 70-200, and basically, as I said before, it just helps compress perspective. So it'll bring the foreground. Oops, didn't want to do that. Let me just get the right thing up. Yeah, here we go. So it brings the foreground and background and just kind of compressed it together. And same with elements like the trees here, just squashes everything together. Also, with longer lenses, they're very good for like things like headshots because you can drop the focus on the images quite easily. For instance, if you shot at 5:6 on a shot like this, the background would drop off quite quickly out of focus. The same shot on a wide angle would look much sharper. So that's the other things we're using the longer lenses. It just gives you it enables you to drop the focus in the background much more easily. The next shot I'm going to show you is a wide angle shot, so we'll just bring that one up. Okay, so with this one, we shot this one with a wide angle, a 28 mm lens. That's working on a full frame sensor, sort of 35 mm type format. And you notice here you've got quite a bit of distortion in this picture. I've got very low to the ground here, and these cobbles are much larger in frame. They look all a bit skew with a lot of distortion, especially near the camera here. And then as it drops off, they get smaller very much quicker. You'll also notice that the actual Colosseum here is again a little bit skew with. It's kind of almost looming over, especially here. It's got like what they call a ship's bow distortion on it, which if I was there photographing buildings for say architects, then you wouldn't necessarily use a 28 mm lens. You'd probably rather go for a longer lens, which gives you a much more natural look to the building. Saying that, with 5.4 cameras, you can alter. You could use a wide angle on there if you need to, and you can alter the back of the cameras. But let's not confuse the matter. So that's really it. It exaggerates perspective and adds a bit of dynamics to the image, I suppose. Bit of drama. yeah, just exaggerates the perspective, and also things appear much smaller in frame as they drop off there. So that's that one. Let's move on to another one. Okay, well, you might remember this one when you signed up for Pro Photo Insights. I gave you a free ebook about photographing the edge of darkness, and this is one of the images that we covered in the book. This was shot on a longer lens. Now, the reason I shot this one on a longer lens was again all to do with that kind of looming over effect that you get with wider shots. I decided to get as far back from the Eiffel Tower on this shot as I could, and use a slightly longer lens again, and that gave me a more natural look to the tower. It's still probably looming a little bit, but if I'd have gone much further in with a wide angle, it would have really been kind of standing over the top of me, and I didn't want that, not for this shot. So again, here you can see the oops, what's going on there, but let me just clear that a minute. New bit of software, don't know what I'm doing with it. Oops, don't want to circle either. Here we go. Okay, let's start again. So you notice that these here are all again quite squashed together. Well, much more than they were anyway. Actually, on the location again with the posts, these are all being compressed. The distances between and the distance from here to here has all been squashed together as well. And this, the Eiffel Tower, the base of the Eiffel Tower, was a good walk away from where I was shooting. It was probably, I don't know, a good 10 minutes walk. So it just shows you, it really does foreshorten distances in the images. But more than that, like I said, it just gives you, especially tall buildings like this, it gives you a much nicer effect. But again, it depends what you want. You might want that big looming over effect, in which case you go for the wide angle. But there we go. And another one, just one last one, I should say. Okay, this one again, I'm kind of stretching force into perspective with a wide angle lens. Again, this, I keep saying that, don't I, again? I apologise. It's kind of giving some drama to the picture. This line here, much larger at this end, and much smaller there. Very quickly it drops off, and it's just added a bit of excitement, and I think it really suits this image because it's like kind of fast flowing sports car. It's broadsiding and there's smoke pouring out, and it's you wouldn't really get the same kind of effect with a longer lens on this. So again, lens choice is very important, and you need to learn what different lenses, the effects they give, and in general that is it. The wide angles tend to exaggerate, get the words right, exaggerate the perspective, and the longer lens tend to give a more of a kind of normal perspective. I mean, our eyes, if I remember rightly from back in my training days of reading and stuff, I believe our eyes are equivalent to about a 55mm lens. So that's why a 50mm lens is regarded as kind of standard. That's kind of the closest you get to the human vision. So either side of that, you get the longer lenses and the shorter lenses, and that's generally the effects they give. But there's more, and let me just take you on another step and tell you a little story. Okay, so I just want to summarise about the wide angles and the problems they might cause you if you're not careful. First of all, something we haven't covered is portraits. If you're going to photograph, do a nice headshot of your Aunt Mabel, whoever, and you shoved a 28mm or something like that in her face and filled the frame, you're going to make her look like an extra off Lord of the Rings, some sort of goblin or something, because her nose is going to come explode out in front of her face, and you're not going to give her a very flattering picture. So I wouldn't advise that, unless of course it's the wife, and then you might want to give it a go. Buildings, again, here's the effects yet again. This is the shot of the Colosseum again. It's you can see the base of the Colosseum appears bigger, especially this end, than the top, and it gives that kind of that falling over type effect, which is, you know, if you're photographing buildings for architecture or something like that, you need to show them in a normal kind of real world perspective. You probably want to avoid the wide angle lenses, but otherwise go for it. I've shot this and it's sold several times and earned me a few quid, so it doesn't really matter that much if it's for yourself. It just depends, and also it depends on how close you are to the building, and that affects the how badly the building will distort. So, but as long as you know these things, then you can make a decision yourself for whether it matters in your images. And that brings me neatly on to the next and final slide that I want to talk about. And this is an actual shoot I did. And again, I just want to go with the facts. It's not a rule. The things I'm telling you here are the real world problems you get with lenses. Well, call them problems. They can be problems depending on what you want to do. But they're not rules. They're just guides. So you take the facts and you decide yourself whether it's a problem for you or not. For instance, I just want to tell you a little bit of a story about this picture. In 2006, I was in Rome. I went with the family just for a weekend, just sightseeing, but as usual, the cameras came with me. At that time, I was shooting a lot of stock photography. I was shooting mainly lifestyle. That's what the agencies want. They wanted lifestyle pictures of girls running along beaches and guys and all that sort of thing. And the general rule was, don't bother with location or travel photography. It's oversaturated and it just doesn't sell that well. Just go and shoot, spend lots of money and shoot lifestyle pictures. But anyway, I went to Rome and I had that in my mind, and the Colosseum is probably one of the most photographed buildings in the world, and I thought, no point in me trying to take pictures of the Colosseum to put in the stock library. They probably just won't take them. However, photography being my love, I decided that I wanted to go out with there's no tourists in shot and just take some pictures, just for pure love of photography, take some pictures of the Colosseum. So I went out at about 5 o'clock in the morning to get to the Colosseum before the sun came up, so that there was no people about apart from a few street cleaners. I had the place to myself, and that's what I did. And I went out and I got some quite nice shots, and this one I was particularly liked. I thought there was a lot of drama in it, and when I returned I thought, well, I've done the trip, it's already been paid for. There's no harm me submitting these images into the library. They probably won't take them, but it's no skin off my nose. Anyway, cut a long story short, I submit the images in, and they decided to take the two or three of them that I shot. And the first month, and I'm not boasting here, I just want to tell you, to explain the story and about the rules. The first month it went on sale, it sold for $28,000, and every month since then, the last couple of years, it's sold for small amounts, but it's sold several times for very large amounts of money. And I think the reason for that is it's the most familiar location in the world, but I obviously shot it in a very distinct way that hadn't been done before, with fantastic lighting, and I think that's it. I photographed the familiar in an unfamiliar way, and with a lot of impact, and it's done very well. Now, as I said, I'm not saying that to boast. I'm just telling you that if I just sat there and thought, oh no, can't use a wide angle on this because I'll get a lot of distortion and so forth, then I probably wouldn't have shot it. I wouldn't have submitted it, and I wouldn't have earned the money off it. So there you go. They're not rules; they're guides. And if you're not worried about Auntie Mabel's face exploding into the camera, then shoot her with a wide angle. But it's not going to be the most flattering picture she's had done of her. But there's the facts, and then if you've got the facts and you know what you're doing, then you can make a decision whether you want that type of effect or not. But there we go. And it's also used on the front of National Geographic, which I didn't get a lot of money for, but it was nice to get a picture on the front of there. And I think that's it. I think there's another point I wanted to make about it, but I can't quite remember what it was now. But there you go. It's that's a little story behind that image. So yeah, go out, try your lenses, and just have a bit of fun with it. Don't get stuck on any rules.